But before we get this panel underway, we have a video, so roll the footage. Oh yeah, we can get excited, guys. This is exciting. And all of y'all saw. So something that I guess has been rumored now is, according to psychologists, people who enjoy watching Art the Clown are potential psychopaths.
Oh, we must be all psychopaths.
Any insights to this claim? It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
It's so funny. He does such a great job, David, here as Art the Clown, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
So yesterday, being the father of the year that I am, I took my daughters to see Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3. They were like 16 at the time. So yesterday, I took my one daughter to meet Art when he was in full regalia. And he's totally silent, and he just does the thing with his hand, a little wave. She was so freaked out by this guy standing there silent. It just shows, it's like, you see him in real life in that clown costume, it's fucking freaky, man. Mother would approve.
I think that one of the coolest things about, the Terrifier franchise is coming to these conventions, seeing people in cosplay. We have how old are you? 6 years old, dressed as Art the Clown? 10 years old, dressed as Art the Clown? Yeah. He was also he was in character before the panel. He helped get things underway. Well, what is this like for you guys, walking around these conventions, seeing people dressed as people from the Terrifier franchise? It has to be so surreal.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I used to be a cosplayer myself. I used to cosplay Joker a lot at conventions. Smile on my face. But yeah, I love it because I did it because I love the characters so much, and that's why I went, cosplaying. That's why so many cosplayers do what they do. So seeing other people cosplaying myself and all these other characters is just so cool to see. It just makes me feel so warm and tingly inside.
I love seeing all the little ones as Pale Girl. All the little girls, they're so sweet.
I love seeing Vicky, but I also feel terribly for anyone who has to wear that prosthetic or the mask, because I know they can't see and they're suffering deeply, so I'd respect.
So I wanted to know, what was the funniest or most absurd thing that happened on set in contrast to what we actually saw in the film?
Which film?
Any of them.
Well, I guess probably the craziest one for me was in part 2. Basically, every single film, cops have been involved in some way or the other in something that we're doing. In part 1, I had a whole entire SWAT team show up because these two ladies saw me in a window when they were having an argument outside of Trenton, New Jersey at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that was fun. But part 3, we had an FBI raid that happened in the building we had been filming in. The bar scene. the snow, the freeze gun, and like, oh yeah, it's cocaine. Like, oh no. The guys that got that on tape now we're like, no, it's fake, oh no. But in part 2, is when we were doing the laundromat scene. She wasn't there at that point though, but I was basically entirely naked, covered in blood, and we had done some exterior shots of me walking into the laundromat and I'm covered in blood, and we're filming, and all of a sudden the cop car just comes up. I'm like, oh no, not again. And I'm just sitting on the chair, just with a newspaper over me, and David's like, Dave, you gotta mess with the cops. I'm like, absolutely not. He's like, no, it'd be hilarious. Get it on tape, it'd be hilarious. I'm like, absolutely not. And a cop comes out, and it's like, oh, great. And she comes in, and she's like, I hear there was a clown covered in blood that came in here, and I'm just like leaning forward, like, hi, it's me. She's like, can you stand up for a sir? I'm like, you do not want that. I'm gonna stay right here with this newspaper, and she's like, oh, you must be filming. Yes, ma'am, we are filming a movie. I'm like, thank you. So yeah. So it's a running gag now with the cops.
I got to put my fingers in Chris's mouth. I think we spoke about that yesterday, which was that a highlight for me? I don't know.
She's so polite about that. Like, she's supposed to rip my jaw off. That's kind of the idea of the kill. And she's like, is it okay if I put my fingers in your mouth? I'm like, you pretty much have to.
David was like, so can you put your fingers in Chris's mouth? And I'm like, Chris, are you
in my mouth?
Are you okay with that?
It was crazy though for that scene, because what they do now to get the bust of your head is they just do a digital scan, not a mold like they used to use. So I went to LA and I get the digital scan. It literally takes, I don't know, 20 minutes, doesn't take long. Show up on set and there's this head of Chris Jericho that looks exactly like my head. Like it's the same, it's freaky. The skin is the same, it's got whiskers, the hairline's the same. So we do the scene and she puts her fingers in my mouth. And then the blood's gushing and art comes over. Basically, two of them just fuck me up bad. And then they go cut, and then in comes the bust of my head. And I'm 10 feet behind the camera watching these psychos pull my jaw off. And the skin is stretching, but if it doesn't break, the skin's not stretching, it's not supposed to stretch that much. Restructure the jaw. So they put it back on again, and I'm gonna watch this. It's like living death, watching myself put my face on. The guys are right here. Haven't you waited?
I feel like I looked at you and you were smiling.
It was a grimace.
Amelie, I wanted to ask, a lot of people kind of speculate who little pale girl is. Do you have any insight that you can tell us about her?
So I don't really have much insight. Damien hasn't told me any of the backstory of the Pale Girl, so I know pretty much as you guys do. But I really like hearing all the theories. There's some really good ones.
Jean-Lee Ramsey. Too soon.
Part 4, that's what we have.
Hopefully we'll get to the backstory.
What are some of the theories that you heard?
Well, obviously there's the Emily McLain theory about the girl that died in the circus. And then there's the theory that Art is her dad. There's the theory that she's his sister. A lot of different ones. So
I don't know.
we don't know.
We'll find out.
Samantha, I wanted to know, did you see your character as like a victim or a survivor or something in between or something totally new?
Oh, that's a hard question. Victim, survivor. I think anyone who's going through any sort of adversity or trauma or violence that's getting done to them, I see them as survivors are doing their best to fight back, and it doesn't always mean that they have a happy or uplifting ending. And I feel for Victoria, she, in one, did everything that she could to fight for her life. But one thing I really love about playing Victoria is that she represents a very real population percentage of people who go through trauma and violence and who succumb to that trauma and that violence. And so I see her as like a human. I see her as a lot of people who their trauma gets the best of them and they kind of give into a psychosis. And especially in one, we learn that she's outcast and people are really cruel to her, especially the reporter, and she talks about children. So I see her as a survivor. I see her as, especially, but then obviously in 2 and 3 she becomes possessed, and I don't believe Vicky is the villain. I believe the entity of the little pale girl is the thing that is in control and is the villain. And it's just using Vicky as a vehicle.
That's another theory right there.
That's not a theory. Little pale girl is a bit, right? Entity is in Vicky. That's But yeah, I always have to tell that to people who come to my table. They go, why did Vicky join up with him? He killed his sister and Dawn. And I say, it's not Vicky. Once those eyes light up and, she's completely out of control. And I tell people also that Vicky's in there up until the tub scene when she slits her wrists. That's when Vicky's released from the body. But when the villain is looking, or when she's looking in the mirror, she's taunting Vicky. She's being extremely cruel to her because, she's evil. So.
Well, if it's okay with you guys, I say we take some questions from the crowd, so I'm going to jump down there with the microphone if you guys want to start lining up. All right, let's see. All right. Hey.
David, this question is for you. What was your favorite kill in the movies?
Oh, my favorite one is Santa Claus. I love ruining Christmas in that way. I think it is such an iconic type of Art the Clown kill because it's very creative. It's kind of funny at the same time. It's very gory as well. And it was just such a fun scene to film. The whole entire bar scene is my favorite thing I've filmed so far because it was just, I was being able to just do comedy with some, some screen legends. So that was a lot of fun for me. But we were actually going to take that kill scene a little bit further, but we literally ran out of time. I was going to take coal and light it on fire, kind of juggle it around like it's hot, and then shove it into his eyeballs. We ran out of time that day. It was dang nabbit, but we still got the carrot in the nose because we wanted to go for that full snowman effect. So I love that one. It's just fun.
Hi David, this question is for you, and I know that how much you love playing as the role as Art the Clown, and I'm really, really praying that you get the Joker role that you always wanted. It always started from Cesar Romero all the way to the beginning, as of right now, as a loving Phoenix, of course. And if you get the role, and when you nail it, you will honestly be considered the greatest clown actor ever.
I would be happy to be known as the guy that was all the clowns and stuff like that. That would be a fun way to go out. Whenever I die, they would have to do some kind of prank for everybody when I die, I guess. And then just come out with a coffin like a Jack in the Box or something like that. But yeah.
Can I get the 20 seconds of you just in that role, in that mindset of Joker?
Of course, let me see. Memory is so treacherous. One moment you're lost in the carnival delights of the poignant childhood aromas, the flashing neon of puberty, all that sentimental candy floss. The next, it takes you somewhere you don't want to go. Somewhere dark, cold, filled with damp, ambiguous shapes of things you hope were forgotten. Memories can be such vile, repulsive little brutes. Like children, I suppose. Thank you so much. Call me James.
So this question is for Samantha. When you were getting the Terrifier 3 script, and what was your first reaction when you saw the glass masturbation scene?
Let's go. I want to be memorable. You know what? I'm so desensitized and dissociated from this franchise that I didn't even process I was birthing ahead until Howard Stern was talking about it on his radio show. The only reason I realized it is I said it to my father, and I was like, oh, Dad, Ron Howard Stern. I was like, oh shit, do not listen to that. So I only really learned tastefully. I was like,
True, that's true.
true, it was 100% true. But Damien is awesome. Damien always, has a conversation. He breaks it down. I asked him, I was like, are you going to see a lot, like anything? Because it would change maybe my feelings about it. And he said, we're not going to see anything. Trust me. I do trust him. So yeah, so I just, that's how I felt. I was like, I also as an actor, I love to be uncomfortable. I want to see where my edge is and I want to push further. And that was definitely a scene where I was pushing past my edge. But yeah.
There's actually an interesting story that happened. Samantha and I weren't supposed to be in part 3. You guys know the story with the changing of the ending of part 2?
Yeah.
The whole ending had to be reshot because originally at the end of 2 we go into the cell, Leah and I, and Victoria's freaking out. She throws food in our face. She starts going crazy. We're trying to restrain her. She bites off Leah's fingers. We're covered in blood. I'm fighting with her, and her head turns around, and the back of her head is now Art the Clown's face. So that was kind of the ending. In the meantime, we were just talking about this, the 6 months in between the post-production of the movie coming out, a movie called Malignant came out that had the exact same ending. So Damien was freaked out and had to reshoot the ending of part 2, which then led to me being in 3 and Victoria as well. And I don't think Victoria was supposed to be in 3, that she's one of the stars of 3. So, thanks to Malignant.
James Wan contributed greatly to part 3 without realizing it.
Okay, my question is for Antonella. From what I've heard, you were 11 when it started. Was there ever a time where you felt uncomfortable on set or like it was real?
Well,
Oh no.
Badass. She's
oh, I
a
know.
badass.
Pause. I just need to think. I got something that really did help me not get into that headspace, other than when I was filming, is that, like for example, I met David out of makeup first on my first day, which I feel like that really helped because I got to know him and not just the scary or the clown persona. And I never met Sam out of costume until the premiere. So like I feel like it was a bit of a different experience. And I feel like there was some times on set where I was a little bit like, okay.
I definitely, we never met while we were with my actual face, and the same with Chris, but you were amazing. I mean, I was so worried because there were scenes where you were like sobbing, and we were all like, oh my God, is she okay? David would call cut, and she's like, oh, good, like, let's go again. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I was so worried I was traumatizing this poor child. I'm a former teacher, so I know that's one of my things. I'm like, oh my God, because all the kids we had on set, I was always so worried about traumatizing them. Like when we did the mall scene, I asked Damien if I could come in before we filmed, just so I could meet all the children, even though I was wearing the costume and makeup, just so I could talk to them as myself, put them at ease and all that. And with her, I was like, I had the knife up to her throat and I was right in her face. I felt so icky doing that. And she's over here shaking and sobbing like crazy. I'm like, oh my God, I broke this poor child. And I'm like, are you okay? I am so sorry. She just wipes away the tears like, I'm doing great. This is fun. I'm like, damn, you're good.
After we finished, then I'd just go back to the room upstairs and go do some schooling. All like tears still kind of like dry on my face filled with blood, and I'll be doing like mathematical equations, asking my teacher, hey, what does this mean?
I even came in to help, with some of your lessons too. Like former teachers, like, what are you studying today? Oh, history, fantastic. Let's talk about the French Revolution right now.
Thank you.
This question is for David. What was one of your favorite memories on set?
Oh my gosh. I have so many of them, but I would probably say who was doing the bar scene is one of them. Of course, I already, talked about that one. I really love because that's the first time I've had a captive audience, because we were doing it in the mall, so we had a whole entire group of people just watching above. And I'm a former stage actor, and I haven't been on stage in about a decade, and I was like, I miss that feeling of being able to just perform in front of people. And so I had this whole audience up there I was just performing for, so every time they would say cut, getting laughs and applause, I'm like, I missed this. It's wonderful. It was so much fun. So that was just great. And Davey's like, Dave, you're a total different beast today on set. Like, dude, I got a live audience. I'm in my element right now. I'm loving this. So that was such a fun moment for me. And also just doing the chainsaw sword fight. That was like, my inner kid was coming out like crazy that week, because I've always wanted to do a sword fight. So this is awesome. I can do it with a chainsaw. And my stunt double did a lot of it for me too. Like, I cannot pick up Lauren and throw her on the ground, so he did that. He also did the whole thing with the ball grab. So I was like, you do that, buddy. You do that. Have fun. I'll just film the reaction. You. So I have to give a big props to my understudy. Well, not understudy, but my stunt double, Bobby. He was like Bobby McFarland. He's just a fantastic stunt performer. So I always feel like stunt actors do not get the recognition they deserve. So I want to give Bobby big props for the work he did.
Thank you.
Yeah, how you guys doing? It's a little off topic, but about 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, I had the first ever pro wrestling podcast on the internet, and Chris Jericho used to work for a company that didn't appreciate him or know what to do with him, so they used to send him to me to try to get him over on Sugo.com and Justice for Raw. And I just want to say, it's tremendous seeing him here now. Not only a world champion, global superstar, but also a rock star and a movie star in the horror icon. Can we all give it up for Chris Jericho, please?
Thank you, man. It's amazing to me, just on that topic, just how huge the Terrifier franchise is. And just to have, a small part in 2 and 3, the amount of Terrifier merchandise that I sign, that we all sign at cons like this, is absolutely incredibly amazing. How huge this franchise has become. And I ended up in Terrifier 2 because I saw Terrifier 1 very early on. And we were actually on tour with Fozzy, and the guitar player was like, you gotta watch this movie, Terrifier. What's it about? A killer clown. I'm like, nah, I've seen enough killer clowns. I said, no, dude, you haven't seen this one. And of course he shows me the scene, the sawing scene. That's not the one that got me. The one that got me was in the pizza parlor, when Art kills the one guy, the worker there. And it's not 1 stab or 2 stab, it's like 50 stabs. And I was like, this is fucking crazy. This movie is insane. So I started really talking about it on my podcast and to all my horror friends. And word started getting around, and that's kind of how I got connected with David, with Damien, and ended up in 2 and 3. So I've kind of been invested in this franchise from the start. Like, I was one of the OGs, and to see how huge it's become and to be a part of it, it's just unbelievable. It's such an honor. So thanks to you guys for having so much interest in bringing all of this cool stuff to sign. And one last thing I'll say, there has never been so many movie posters for a franchise. There's like 50 fucking posters for every single movie, which is crazy. So anyways, thanks to you guys for being such big fans of this franchise.
Hi, so I have a question for David. So in Terrifier 2, in the clown cafe scene, there's a moment where we hear the Art Crispy announcement, and it's you doing the voiceover with that. I've heard people speculating that if Art ever had a voice, then that's what it would sound like. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, no. That's funny that you mention that, because I've actually had arguments with people over that. Like, that was Mark Hamill doing that. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. No, that was Mark Hamill. I know Mark Hamill's voice. I'm like, no, we did not have a budget for Mark Hamill. But that would have been amazing too. I actually recorded that as a placeholder too, because David was just going to get a voice actor. He's like, Dave, can you just, record something for this this so I have something just so we can do timing. I'm like, yeah, sure. And I can't half-ass things, so I just had fun with it. And he's like, dude, we're just going to use this. I'm like, awesome, sweet. I actually get some voiceover credit in this movie. Fantastic. But, what was the question? Oh my God.
What are your thoughts of people speculating that if I had a voice, that was...
Yes, no, because that's always a fun question. It's like, what would art sound like? I don't think whatever voice would come out would satisfy anybody because everybody has their own version of what they think he would sound like. To me, I think it would be hilarious if he had a very posh British accent. Yes, I love that. Cut all of you in half and everything from the head to the tank. I know that was going to so much fun.
Yeah, I had a question for Chris. You know, with you being a professional wrestler in such a great franchise like Terrifier, are there any other professional wrestlers that you'd like to see in future installments? Maybe Rhea Ripley?
I keep telling Damien that Burke has to have a twin brother, so I can be in the fourth one.
Hey, I mean, you could get possessed also.
I mean, in the Terrifier franchise, you never know what's going to happen, right? You could come back as a zombie or as a possessed, pizza delivery guy or something. But yeah, I think Rhea would be great. I know she's a big fan. I know that, that's the thing. There's so many people now that are huge fans of the franchise. I mean, look at all the stuff that Spencer's done with Iceland Kills and a work of art. I mean, it's become part of the pop culture zeitgeist of the Clown and Terrifier to where, and it's once again another reason why this franchise is so popular, that we now have a movie killer from our generation, from now. That's not Freddy or Leatherface or Michael Myers, which are all great characters. This is the first new, legit superstar, franchise player as a killer in Art the Clown and Terrifier. So that's why everybody wants to be a part of it, because it's so cool. Who doesn't want to get killed by Art the Clown?
Right?
And I got killed by Art the Clown and Vicky, which I think is the only one. You had to double team Burke to get him down. That's how tough he was.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't have a hand at that point.
So as we all know, right down the road, there is an amazing Terrifier Halloween Horror Nights house. For those of you on stage who have gone through that house, tell me about your reaction and maybe your favorite moment.
It was so much fun. I loved it. I loved it so much. We've all been to the one in Los Angeles, right? Yeah. And we're going to the one in Orlando tonight.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
About 3.5 hours away in Miami, so I drive up to Orlando to go to Universal every year with my parents. So last month in September, my dad and I went to the Halloween Horror Nights house here, and it was awesome. Really, the house is a bit different, but I remember it was so cool. I think I also saw it's like Alexa, and she's in the shower, and she has the glasses on. They had that in the house here. I remember it was so cool.
Yeah, we got to do the LA one, and that was really awesome. But we've been hearing amazing stuff about Orlando, and a lot more characters, a lot more scenes. It was more Vicky's, I've been told that way too. Add props to all the actors wearing Vicky face, but yeah.
I'm very stoked too. I love going to the one in LA. That made me very happy. And I have to say, the one person that scared me, and it's so appropriate, was Sienna. I'm like, damn it. But I also just love seeing all my babies, as I call them, going around the park and everything. All the actors playing art have been doing me proud. They've been doing so many great little videos. It's just been so much fun for, my girlfriend and I will sit up at night finding these different videos of people who have taken the different arts, messing around with people in the parks, and that makes me me so happy to see that. I love it, especially with, you know, Thomas, if anybody knows who Thomas is, Magic with Thomas. Yes, that made me so happy seeing him interact with art. So I was like, this is so cool. It's because I think that's the first time Universal ever actually had one of the characters from one of the haunts actually go throughout the park and interact with people, which is really cool to be in first too. So I was like, of course, that makes sense. It would be art doing that. So it's so cool. So I can't wait for tonight.
And once again, just to say how huge it is that Terrifier and Art the Clown have their own house at Universal. Like, one, you know, there's Poltergeist and there's Jason Voorhees this year, and, you know, there's all of those, and then The Last of Us, etc., Five Nights at Freddy. It just shows just how massive Terrifier has become, and to be able to go to the opening in LA and the red carpet and see all the brouhaha and all the pomp and circumstance, it's like, man, this is a really cool time to be a horror movie fan and to be a Terrifier fan.
Spooky was in 2019, and now here we are in 2025, and just seeing what Terrifier has become, and I can't wait to see what the future for Terrifier holds. Very good. I wanted to ask